and welcome to the March Facebook Live Leadership in the Family Law section with Cash Eaton. My name is Amber Kornreich, and I'm a family lawyer in Miami. Before we introduce our speaker today, we'd like to remind everyone to follow the Family Law section on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd also like to remind you about the upcoming CLE webinar, Everything Prenuptial Agreements, featuring Laura Davis-Smith, Sonia Jean, Stacy Cohen, and Ashley Belargian, taking place on March 16th at noon. Registration is live on the website familylawflaw.org. And now, it is my honor to introduce our speaker today, Cash Eaton. Cash is a senior associate at Sasser, Sestero, and Roy in West Palm Beach. He attained board certification in 2021, and he is active with the Family Law section, where he serves on the section's Executive Council and Legislative Committee. Those who know Cash know that he's a very analytical problem solver, very tech savvy, has great positive energy, and also loves sports, particularly the Florida Panthers.
Sure.
Welcome, Cash.
Great, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Cash, how long have you been involved with the Family Law section, and how did you get started with leadership?
So I've been involved with the Family Law section since 2013. That's when I initially was barred, and I was working for my mom at the time. She was also a family law attorney and was very involved with the section. So her involvement with the section, she started bringing me to the first thing I think I attended was fall meetings that year. And then it just kind of went straight through all the way until now. So I was always at all the meetings and started doing more, getting involved in more subcommittees, attending more things. And so, yeah, I've been involved pretty much throughout my whole career. So, but it's my mom. I have my mom to thank for being involved. And so then as far as leadership goes, so then I got really involved in leadership probably around 15 and 16. I got placed on the executive council pretty early for a year. I was filling in for someone who needed me to finish out their term. And then I was put back on executive council a couple years later. So that's about when I really got involved as far as leadership goes.
Great. And so what's been the biggest benefit to you of being involved with the leadership of the section?
I think the biggest benefit, and it's just basically a benefit in general of being involved in the section, is the connections that I've made. This job it can be very difficult at times. And so, of course, I have great mentorship in my office, but it's also nice to be able to reach out to other people who are very intelligent and who have a lot of experience. And I've met most of those people, if not all of those people, through the family law section. So I have great professional connections. I have referral sources through the family law section. Some of my very closest friends are also members of the family law section. So, I mean, it's definitely the connections for me. That's what is probably the biggest benefit.
And that's been my experience too. So when should lawyers who are interested in leadership submit their preference forms, and what is the process?
So I've always been a big fan of, or I've always had the mantra that the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say no. So I've always been a big proponent of, if you're interested, let them know early. Now, obviously, if you're newly involved in the section, probably not going to sign the preference form saying that you want to be placed on the executive council or the legislative committee. You want to have some experience under your belt, a couple of years of being involved in the other subcommittees or helping to organize events, that kind of thing. But I think that it's good to show your interest early, because the worst thing that they're going to say is, no, not this year. But it's always going to be in the back of the minds of the people who are making those decisions, that this person's interested, they're coming to everything, they're being involved, they care about the section. And then that really starts to put your application, your preference form, kind of on the top of the pile. But I'm also a big proponent of, when you will fill out the form, to do it as early and often. I probably fill out my form every year, if not the same day, the next day, because it's just one of those things that you can very easily forget, because they usually send you a couple of months in advance before the deadline, and you just don't want to forget. So yeah, so that's basically the process, though. You've got to let people know early and often that you want to be involved, start meeting people, start getting your name out there, because name recognition is really a big part of that process.
Well, that's great advice. And we want to make sure that everyone out there is clear that the deadline is coming up on March 15th.
Right.
So, Cash, my understanding is that you became board certified in 2021.
Right.
So what advice do you have for lawyers who want to sit for the board certification exam?
So one piece of advice that I'll give, if you aren't sure whether or not you want to take the exam, or you have an inkling in your mind, like, hey, maybe one day I'll take the exam, start your application early. So this is what I did when I started in family law in my career. And I always kind of felt like that was going to be what I wanted to attain one day. So pretty much from day one, I got a copy of the application. I looked through what the application required, and I made a little spreadsheet in Excel about all the different requirements that you need, and started tracking my cases pretty much from day one of my career, and started filling it in, because that way, when it came time to do my application, I already had all the information at my fingertips. Because I feel like a lot of people who are about to apply or who want to apply, they get the application, they haven't been tracking, and it feels very daunting, because you've got to say how many cases you've handled and how many trials you've had. And if you're not keeping track of that, it can be kind of a lot to research. So start your application early if you're interested. And then if you're about to take the exam, like you've already gotten the go ahead, then start studying early. The earlier you can start studying, the more you can spread out your studies over a period of time, and you're not having to cram long 8-hour days in order right before the exam. You can do it in bits and pieces and more digestible bites a couple of months leading up to the exam. So definitely start early.
Those are excellent tips. So we've also heard that there's an exciting out-of-state retreat coming up. What do you all have planned, and is there still time to register?
Still time to register. We still have availability in the room block. So we're going to out-of-state retreat this year is in the very awesome city of Austin, Texas. It's a great city. When I was there on my site visit, it was a lot of fun. There's a lot to do even during the free times of the retreat, but we have some great events planned. We have tours of the Capitol planned. Since we're in the capital city of Texas, we've got an amazing bat tour, which I guess they're known for in Austin, where you go and watch the bats fly out from under this bridge, and it's supposed to be very cool. But we have some museum tours lined up too. We have great CLE that actually I'll be speaking at as one of the speakers with one of the partners in my firm, Alicia Roy, and then two of my friends from Houston, Texas, who are coming up to Austin to be part of the retreat, Taylor Imel and Serena Hudson, who are Texas lawyers. We're going to do a compare and contrast between Texas law and Florida law, because our laws are very different from each other, but we get a lot of transplants they get some Florida transplants, we get some Texas transplants. So we're kind of going to be teaching everybody about Florida and Texas law. It should be a very fun time. But yeah, there's absolutely time to still register and be a part of the retreat. I welcome everyone to come. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, Cash. We appreciate you being here with us and hope to see everyone at our upcoming events.
Perfect. Thank you, Amber. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.